We redecorated.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Actually, the wall with my book covers is still right there. And this wall behind me used to be like covered in kind of holes and missing plaster and horrible things like that. And my boyfriend had this amazing antique mirror collection, and so we did sort of a piecemeal collage that actually covers most of the holes. Anyway, we were off last week for Thanksgiving. I hope everybody ate like pigs. I certainly did. And this week we are talking about why romance, both contemporary and paranormal, seems to have such legs in YA. Now, a little bit of history from my own writing. Every single book that I have published, 10 and Possess and the upcoming 359, have all had the same note from my darling and patient editor, which is that we needed to beef up the romance and the romantic tension in the book. I will be the first to admit that I have difficulty writing romance. I have difficulty writing long pining scenes of people sort of staring across the room at each other. For me, romance is much more organic. It's much more about a connection of mind and wit. I like crackling dialogue where you can see the characters sort of testing each other out and learning love and respect for each other, as opposed to just sort of like being destined to be in love, because of course that happens in real life. But that, of course, is the problem. When I write romances, I write what I think are realistic romances, the way things actually work in the real world. But in the world of fiction, that isn't always the most popular thing. I think the reason that books that have a heavy romantic element, that have love and predestination and souls separated by distance and reincarnation and all those sorts of things, I think the reason that they are so popular, have been so popular, and continue to be so popular is because they're not real. That's the magic of fiction. We can read about these things. We can live vicariously through them in the pages. Romances that don't actually exist. You can look back through centuries of great romances, both in fiction and on the stage, and see a similar sort of love story. Think of Romeo and Juliet, for example. Those two kids fall in love and die for their love within, what, like a couple of days? And it's one of the most enduring romances, you know, in the history of Western literature. The great tragic troubadour ballads, up through things like Wuthering Heights, you know, the tragic romance of Heathcliff and Catherine, which, when you think about it, maybe isn't the healthiest romance on the planet, and yet we love it, we crave it, we flock to see movies based on the books. There's a reason for this, and I think it's that while we don't want to live those romances, we do sort of want to maybe dip our toe in the pool of the great, potentially tragic, romantic love. I will continue to struggle to write romance in my books, bottom line. It's not from lack of romance in my own life. Today's actually the 1-year anniversary of my boyfriend and I going on our first date. And it's been an amazing year, and I can't think of a greater romance than that. I definitely couldn't write one.